Hi there. In our previous lecture, we looked at how to use Django's templating language and how to pull dynamic values into our site's front end using Django's routing system. We also made use of regular expressions, and we created a function that generates that renders an HTML page. In this lecture, we are going to be focusing more on the blog side of things. So what we're going to be doing is pulling our blog posts into the front end of our site. So that is quite exciting. That's something new that we've never done before, and this is the first time that we're going to be linking the back end and the front end of the site together. So the way that Django does this is by, well, what we will need to do is to import the model into this views file. So the model from the blog application to the model in the views file within the blog application. So we do that by saying from, and then what we want to do is we want to call the application which our model can be found in. And we say blog.models. So now we are searching through all of the models from all of the models within our blog application, and we want to import the post model. And this brings in everything relating to the post model, including the database record. So if we go to our model, so you can see we have our post model, which is in the form of a class. So that's really cool. So now we have access to this post model, and we can run functions on the class that gets pulled in. So if we go post, and then we can say dot objects, which is a special attribute that is now telling Django that we want to query all of the objects on the post class, and then we need to specify what function we're going to run on all the objects, and the all function is just going to return every single instance of every single object saved into our database of the post class or the post model. So that's really nice. Now what we want to do is we want to be able to pass all of these posts into our template. So what we'll do is I'll create a new variable called posts, and I will say it's equal to that, and then I'll pass the posts variable into our template. So I'll do that by saying posts is equal to posts. So there's nothing really special about this. This is the standard way of pulling models into a Django template. If we wanted to add any special parameters to this, we would use a different function, and we could actually pull those parameters in through our URL, which we'll be looking at a little bit later. So here you can see we're actually pulling the posts into the template, which is going into our context variable. So what we should be able to do now is just call our posts variable in our template. Now, one thing that is a little bit tricky about this is that posts is returning a set of records and not a single value. So this is in essence going to try and print out an array. So if we had to refresh this page, you would see that this would not work at all. It would say the reason that it is not working, post is equal to up from blog.view. Let's have a look. That might not be what the problem is. Post is equal to posts. That is, oh, we are using the equal sign here. We are not supposed to use the equal sign. We're supposed to use a colon. Okay, let's see what happens if we refresh the site. And you'll see that we get a query set returned. So this is great. That it doesn't really look fantastic from a semantic point of view, but it is pulling in something. So if we had to now create another post, so let's say another admin, and this is a test post, and this is test, and we had to save this, and we had to refresh the front of our page, we would now have access to that post as well. And the same way that within our model, when we return the post, we are returning the title. The title is now being returned here. So if we had to now change this to, for example, text, and we had to refresh the front page, you will see that the text now comes in. So that's where this toString method that we spoke about a few lectures ago comes in. But this is not really ideal. We don't want to just return the title. We would like to return more than just that. So what we would need to do here is actually create a loop and loop through every single instance of our posts. So within the Django templating language, there is a special way to create conditional logic, or to create our loop functionality. So the way that we do that is, instead of using two curly braces, or two sets of curly braces, we will use one set of curly braces and then have the percentage sign on either side. So now what this indicates is that there's going to be a block of functionality in here. So what we're going to do here is say for, because it's a for loop, and then say for post, which is now going to be the single item in posts. And now this is really just Django's templating language, a way of doing things. So this is brand new. I've never shown you this before, and I'm just copying this line of code just for the sake of simplicity. So for posts in posts, and then we just need to end our for loop. So we can just say end for, and now we should be able to echo out our posts. So the same way that we did before with our double curly brackets. So now we can just say post. Now what I want to do as well, just to make this look a bit nicer, is to create an unordered list tag, to put this inside of here, and then to create our list item inside of the for loop. So every new post will be a list item. So if we had to refresh this now, it would print out these two posts. Now this is still not the greatest, because we don't want this is returning the entire post. We just want to return the title, and although the title is being displayed here, it is only working because within our model, when we return the entire post, the title is being returned. So we want to say post.title, and now we are specifically querying the title of the post. Great, and now we're getting the title. So what I want to be able to do from here is to actually link through to the single post. So the way that we would do that is by creating an anchor tag and putting our post title inside of the anchor tag. So what is really nice about this as well is that we can actually call our post's ID, the identifier that is created. So even though in our model we did not explicitly specify an ID, we still have an ID that is auto-incremented and is created with every single model. So we can actually just say links to post.id, and then we can save that. And now when we refresh it, if we click on this, even though it's saying nothing, we can see that that ID of 1 is being pulled through. So maybe a better way of doing this is just for the sake of our example, is to say -1. So when we go back to our previous page, you can see this is 1 and this is equal to 2. So although the ID doesn't really have any relevance to us, it is great for when we want to query a specific post. Now in the next lecture, we are going to talk about how to create a single view for these posts using this ID as a reference.